on this, the 21st day of July 2021, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Could everybody please state their name for the record? I am Luis Oliveros, and I am present.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez, present.
Juan Roberto Ramirez, present.
Ricardo Molina Sr.
Camilo Vélez III, present.
Francisco Castillo on Zoom.
Javier Montemayor, present on Zoom.
And I, Elisa Oliveros, am on Zoom and on Zoom as well. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 4, did we skip Pledge of Allegiance?
Did.
Do we have to ask the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I take the flag.
To thee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we go to agenda item 4, public comments. Ms. Rendon, do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. We have Mr. Jose Ovando, Safety of Students.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Joe Ovando. Let me know if I need to speak louder because of the mask, or if I need to tone it a little bit down. Just let me know.
That's good.
In a previous occasion, I had already spoken in regards to the impermissible employer-employee relationship. And I've also spoken about the UISD employee relationship with students. I recently requested an open records request, and I was hoping that the board would take my complaint seriously, and I guess it was just ignored. And I'm asking again that you reconsider this. I submitted my request on February the 25th with the open records request, and it was very simple. And it was very narrow because I know that many times when I request something, the information is denied to me. And I was very narrow because I just wanted to know if the person worked for the school district to begin with. And I just said, please provide the date of hire of the following employee. That was it. My request was denied. I didn't ask for a social security number. I didn't ask if the person had a savings account or a retirement account. I didn't ask for anything but the date of hire, and it was denied. Then I was told, oh no, we can give you the information after I complained. And I was given the information. Y qué casualidad, the employee was working, but is no longer working for the school district. Just a few days before I made my request. It's a lot of coincidences to me. In the beginning, I thought that the school district was negligent, and I believe that the duty of the school is so high, and the standard of care to the students is so high that negligence should not be allowed within the school district. But now I'm thinking they are complicit because they have never followed through with this information that I've provided. I'm going to leave this information again here with the ladies at the front door. If anybody's interested in looking into this, hopefully somebody will. But for sure, I'm going to have to go to TEA with this information because it's not possible that our children's safety is just being played around with. Hopefully somebody takes this information seriously and looks into it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we cannot comment on public comments. Otherwise, I would, Mr. Ovando. But yes, I will certainly speak to our attorney about that. Agenda item number 5, public hearing. The board will take public comment regarding optional flexible school day program for the 2021-2022 to continue the positive approach to student success known as the PASS program at Lyndon B. Johnson and to expand PASS program at United South High School. Is there a motion to open the public hearing regarding optional flexible school day program for the 2021-2022 to continue the positive approach to student success, PASS program at Lyndon B. Johnson and to expand PASS program at United South School.
Make a
I'll
motion.
go ahead and motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Here?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone against? Motion carries. Mr. Arnold, do we have any public comments?
Not on the optional flexible school day program, but I have a short presentation which begins on page 216 of the board book
Okay.
manual. And just to communicate with our public, first of all, good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Garcia, and members of the audience, Gloria Rendon, Deputy Superintendent for United Independent School District. I bring before you the plan that was presented at our instructional committee meeting last week with regards to the optional flexible school day program. And this is what we call the PASS program we would like to continue the program at LBJ High School and expand it to United South High School as well. And this is an intervention program basically for our student dropouts. And so I know that you all are probably aware of it, but just for the general public, that the state of Texas does allow us, next slide please, to offer an optional flexible school day program for flexible hours of attendance for our students and days of attendance for students in any grade who meet any of the following criteria. Basically, it is a dropout recovery program to assist our students who are behind on credits or who are lacking or not going to meet promotional requirements due to attendance issues. So we are looking at presenting this to you all for approval. The flexibility of the schedule, they will use OdysseyWare. We have an assigned teacher at each particular campus site. We're looking at small group settings at each of these particular schools, where they will have the flexibility to come into school, an AM group or a PM group. They come in for 4 hours each day, and it will count for full day attendance. And it has had success at LBJ High School. We are looking, and I know that some board members had asked previously, for the expansion and the data for our other two high schools. But in looking at our criteria and our data, we see that these are the two campuses that probably need it the most, but we are, of course, looking at expansion for the following school year. It does have to be submitted to TEA for approval prior to any student being enrolled. It's a 30-day turnaround. Hopefully, it will be sooner, and then we will implement the program at each of these two of our sites. Any other questions?
Question, Ms. Rendon.
Yes, sir.
Javier Montemayor. I haven't seen the data on the other two schools. I think Mr. Castillo and I and Ms. Oliveros were interested in seeing those numbers.
Ms.
If
Leza.
y'all-
Ms. Leza does have that, sir?
This one has them right now.
Okay.
Yes, Mr.
I haven't seen them.
Mr. Montem-
And I would like to look at them. My question is, what source of funding are you using to fund this United South program as well?
We're looking at Title I, sir, federal funds,
Federal monies.
Okay.
right?
Okay, and just to provide the data, we have 5 students at Alexander High School that did not graduate with their cohort and 10 at United. We do have a plan for them already, an intervention plan, so they can meet graduation requirements this year. And I can provide the information on credits and everything that they need.
You have the
What
number?
are the numbers, Ms. Lessa, on LBJ and South as compared to United and Alexander?
I will tell you, Mr. Montemayor, that 2019-20 data shows that we recovered 39 students and with 62 credits, and that was the 1920 school year, which ended abruptly on March 13th. So it's
It's
significant.
combined or just LBJ?
That's just LBJ, sir. But South was, I remember seeing the data, I just don't have it at the top of my head, sir, in looking at this. Now, Mr. Salazar and Ms. Ramirez would sometimes work collaboratively, and some students from South, you know, the severe cases would be sent to LBJ High School. But those were, you know, 1 or 2 students at most. Those individual students who, you know, wanted to meet credit requirements, wanted to graduate, and so they had just an agreement within themselves to work that out. But Ms. Ramirez has been very vocal about the expansion of this program at South High School.
Thank you.
Any other
Mr.
questions?
Castillo, just so that you know that this program has not been around forever. It's only been around since 2006 in the state of Texas. It's been amended by the legislature a couple of times, most recently in 2017. But this is a program that, you know, if you go to the TA website, there's a number of school districts that have them, and I think for the right reasons, to make sure that those kids that maybe don't follow the traditional pathways have an option nonetheless. So it has been met with a lot of success, not just at UISD, but statewide.
So if I see the numbers, there's a total of 15 at Alexander and United High School combined. Would there be any reason to try to combine them in one school or the other? To try to ensure that they participate in this program? Is it reasonable to even think about that?
It certainly would be reasonable, but we do have a plan of action for them to earn credits, because we do have Odyssey in every one of the high schools. So that is something that we're working with the campuses. But I will tell you also that in previous data, and what I can do is I can provide a history of the graduation rates. But at Alexander, we were hitting 98, 99% graduation rates. And we've got to remember also that STAR plays an important role there. And at United High School, if you remember, they were able to move from a B to an A because they had graduation rates higher than what the state is expecting in 2023. So we know that the campuses, of course, all are working with them, but the students at United South High School and at LBJ have additional circumstances to deal with that are not just curricular.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that you have a plan.
Yes, we do.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I need a motion to close the public hearing regarding optional flexible school day program for 2021,
So moved.
2022,
Second.
to continue the positive student success. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Motion carries. Do we have an against? Okay, motion carries. Public hearing is now closed. Agenda item 6, informational items. Presentation of elementary and secondary school emergency relief, ESSER 3, use of funds plan.
Thank you. Laida Benavides, Interim Associate for Superintendent for Student Support Services. We are going to show the plan, and actually the goal is to show our public the plan. And we did run an ad in the Laredo Morning Times inviting our public to come. We ran it on Sunday, and we also ran another ad on Monday. The goal of this is to really let our community know where we have planned to use these funds. I think you remember in June, we came with a very lengthy presentation kind of explaining what were the allowable activities. And since then, we have been working hand in hand with C&I, with curriculum and instruction, with all the different departments there, with some other support service areas, to see where we could have these $127 million be well spent to meet the letter of the law of safety for our kids and learning loss recovery. So I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Lessa to go over the learning loss money that we want to spend from these funds. Thank you.
The next one. Okay, as Ms. Benavides said, we have been meeting over the past few weeks, bringing in all of the executive directors for all of the campus levels, elementary, middle, and high, and looking at what is being required with the current legislature that just closed. One of the House Bills, 4545, that requires certain criteria to be met to provide this instruction. So when we look at the first part, learning acceleration, which is what we're really focused on this school year, we have allocated $50.5 million. Again, building teacher capacity. I do want to say that we're not only looking at ESSER, we are also working hand in hand with the Texas Education Agency in the different grants that they're also putting out for us We just applied for a T-class grant on tutoring, and we have been approved for the RSSP, where we're working with Ed Direction to provide this professional development for our teachers. We are also focusing on extending instructional time through high-intensity tutoring. The state is calling it HIT, high-intensity tutoring. And then we're also going to have acceleration academies. We just met with high school all of this afternoon, planning on how we're going to make sure that we're meeting all of the needs for the students who have shown through the STAR assessment that they need additional support. We're also looking 10.9 million at the instructional programs for academic support. We're looking at the ones that have been vetted by the state, and also at the ones that have already shown us that the students do gain instructional or are able to make instructional advancements. We're looking at assisting our campus libraries, and also looking at online quality assessments. In 2 years, all of our STAR and STAR EOCs will be online. So we need to make sure that we capitalize on this time and prepare our teachers, our students, our administrators to ensure that they continue to show that they are moving and advancing in instruction. Another one that is very important is the wraparound services that you see there with 3.4 million. And this is to target the social and emotional support, the mental well-being for our teachers, for our students, absolutely, and making sure that our students are feeling well about themselves so that they can be ready for learning. We're also including some dropout prevention services. And one of the things that we want to do is also bring in some licensed professional counselors at each feeder high school, so that the only thing that they will be doing is counseling either individual students or small groups of students to help them transition back into school. Another area is family engagement. We've been working very closely with federal programs to make sure that we're providing communication to improve the improved school-to-home communication. We're also working and brainstorming on a family resource center that would provide parents with not only classes, not only a food pantry, but also additional resources that they need to be able to meet just everyday life that we know has been disrupted for them. And then I'll transfer it over to Ms. Benavides.
Thank you, Ms. Lessa. For technology and infrastructure, we've set aside 4.7 million. There is a recommendation to buy or purchase interactive flat panels. As you know from our construction program, we did buy interactive flat panels and we put them in the classrooms that have STAR testing. So there's other classrooms in our schools that don't have these interactive flat panels, and we want to support that endeavor. It would be like your second graders, your first graders, kinder and pre-K, since those don't test. And then in the high school, it would be those areas like chemistry. There's not a STAR test for chemistry. So that's an example of the classrooms that would get these interactive flat panels. The hotspots, these are the MiFi devices that we want to give to those students if we ever have to close down again and students need to have those Chromebooks in their homes and they don't have good internet service. This is to make sure that our kids do have access to internet. Network upgrades, we need to upgrade our networks because of all the softwares now that we're putting into the system. Mr. Bettis and Rene Cruz have come up with a timeline on which networks we do need to work on upgrades. And then database upgrades would be to help the instructional area. One in particular is a program, actually a homegrown program called IRIS that has helped our campuses look at student data, live student data from day to day to see how our kids are doing. On safety, this is upgrades to improve air quality. We do have quite a bit of funds invested there. We're going to be bringing to the board probably in a couple of months, maybe next month or September, depending. We are planning on buying air purification units for our special ed unit classrooms and our nurse clinics. And we also are going to continue to invest on MERV 13 filters for all our air conditions. And we also are going to start a project for UVC germicidal lights in our air condition handlers. That's going to be almost a $5 million project. And then the big dollar amount in this is HVAC upgrades. There's about 17 campuses that we have identified that are older and need the air conditioning systems upgraded. So these are some monies from the federal government. I have never seen the federal government support these types of endeavors, but I think we need to take advantage of that because this type of money from our operation money, we just can't come up with 33 million just like that. So those are the plans under safety. There's also prevention and mitigation strategies. There is money in here for PPE supplies and also I think a medical waste van for support services. There is some money in here for some health technicians to help our nurses. And I think I'm probably leaving something out, but there is a lot of safety and health money put into this program. And then the last one that you see here is 5 million. The government is allowing us to kind of reimburse ourselves for the money that we spent this past year on COVID. You know, the Wi-Fi buses, just all the MiFis that we had to buy before they gave us money for it, and just all the PPE that we had to buy before the state of Texas started giving us some money. So we're allowed to kind of reimburse ourselves. So that in general is our plan. If you see in the corner there, that learning loss, there was a requirement of 20%, and if you add what TA has told us would be for learning loss, it really adds up to about 52%. So more than 50% of this money is going to be geared for our kids for recovering on learning loss. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Quick question. I know the allocation of the amount for this, which would be the third one, is that correct? The 127, that's
ESSER 3, yes.
ESSER 3.
Yes,
This is over a 3-year span that we're able to use the funds.
that's correct.
What would you say is if you have it broken down to the immediate use right now in the next 6 months or so? Is it going to be a substantial amount that we're going to invest right away or use right away right now that we're coming back to?
I think what we're going to probably see right away is, take for instance, like those purification units that we can get out an RFP quick and start, you know, those are units that we can just plug in, have the vendor plug in. The UVC, the lights, the UVC lights and the air handlers, that's going to be like an 18-month project, right? The HVAC upgrades, those are probably going to happen in the 3 years. The learning part, I think, software programs are probably those that we can get online right away. I think in technology, the interactive flat panels, I know Ms. Garcia said she's going to do a 3-year approach because it is a lot of panels. Our facilities actually have to go into the classroom and upgrade the electrical in that wall to put the IFP. So that's going to be a 3-year process. I don't know if you want to mention about that.
On the curriculum side, let me ask.
Yes, on the curriculum side, we've already put out an RFP for a social and emotional learning curriculum. We have about 12 vendors that have responded. So now we have to go to the process where the teachers vet and the teachers will vote on the program that we are going to be using. That's social and emotional, so that will probably be taken care of in year 1. And then in the learning acceleration, we're also looking at different avenues to meet. Last time, I talked a little bit about the 30 hours that we have to do per subject, per student, for STAR. So we're looking at those instructional programs that will allow us to do the one-to-one tutoring. If I remember correctly, that's about a $2 million that we're going to invest just in one semester. So we are looking at the programs that are going to give us a very good return on investment. We're looking at, making sure that we have everything evaluated so that we can ensure that we're spending our money wisely and making sure that we're getting the greatest advancement for our students.
Right. I think for us, it's more importantly that we're seeing that you guys are obviously putting the effort, doing the meetings. I know it's a difficult task when you have to get so many departments and people involved to try to make it work. So I commend you guys for the effort that you have done, your staff have done over the last several weeks. I know it's going to be difficult to move forward and have everything in line, but I know you guys will do a great job. And I think we can assure the public that we are obviously trying to make the best decision using the funds going forward and using them in a timely manner within that 3-year period and trying to make the best of it.
Yes, and I will tell you that yesterday, we met with principals for the first time for a training, and all of them are ready for the challenge. They're ready to work together so that we can make sure that we are meeting not only the letter of the law, but most importantly, meeting the instructional needs of the students. Instructional and the social and emotional, because we know that that's also very key to ensuring that our students are back on track and rebound for the learning.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Leza, I have one more question.
Yes.
On the licensed professional counselors, are you getting those in-house or are you?
We've just completed the job description, and we're looking at all of the criteria that's needed for this, but we will, first of all, send this as an in-house job opening, because we do currently have, I believe it's 9 licensed professional counselors, and we just want to make sure they already know our students, they know our teachers, so we want to make sure that there is not too much of a learning curve for them to start with the counseling as soon as possible.
Okay, is that's going to be a permanent position or?
For now, everything that we have on ESSER does have a statement that it is grant funded for 3 years. But again, we will be evaluating not only the time that they're investing on our students, but we'll look to see if that is something that we need to continue to fund. I'm sure that we will, because we're going to make sure that we're meeting the students' needs right now.
That's key,
Okay,
the
so are there
evaluation.
other
I just have
positions?
Go ahead.
Are there other positions? Yeah, are there other positions that, like, they'll only be for 3 years and then the district will have to fund them after that?
Any position that we do have through ESSER funds will have that statement that it is a 3-year grant-funded position. And then we will have to evaluate to see if it's something that we will maintain or we will apply for other grants. I mean, that's something that I'm sure, as we're providing data to the state, is also that they're going to be evaluating, and if it's something that they can provide additional funding for, I'm sure that they will.
Oh, yeah, I hope so, because I'd hate to hire all these people and in 3 years, you know, I know they come in knowing full well that it's only a 3-year position, but, and I'm only saying because at the county, we've run into this in the past where we have positions that are funded by grants, and then the grants no longer exist, and then the county has to take on the expense of carrying these employees. And I just don't want the district to be in that position with a bunch of positions. And I'm almost thinking, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I'm almost thinking that it might be wise to contract a private LPC, so that way you don't have to worry in 3 years, are we going to be able to afford to keep these people on?
And we have looked at that. The only issue is that we want these LPCs to be on campus when the students are there, so that they have immediate access to them. I'm sure that we will also do some contracting for after hours, but it's real important that our students have access to the counselors as soon as they have need. Now, I will also tell you that when we've worked with grants in the past, through attrition, a lot of the times we're able to absorb the position, not create a new one, not fund a new one, but either bring them back as campus counselors, or depending on where we're at in 3 years.
Yes.
I have a question, Ms.
Yes.
What is the need right now for these licensed professional counselors? How are they going to address the learning loss? I don't think they're really related to the learning loss. It's more maybe a mental health situation. But is there numbers, an increase in numbers in mental health situations? Do you anticipate it? Why are you using these funds to hire these licensed professional counselors?
Not only through federal programs, but also we did it make sure that we were moving towards the right direction for social and emotional learning. And so we did survey our students, and we did find that a number of students felt that they needed additional support, which will we also be working with our teachers to ensure that the empathy is there, that we have that we're building a cultural environment, learning environment that will allow students to feel safe, so that the learning can take place. Because in Maslow's theories in education, we need to have some conditions in place first before the learning can begin. So that's what we were trying to accomplish with this. Not only did we have those survey responses from students, but we also had them directly from the parents through the federal program survey that we submitted in getting ready for, I don't remember, for the Title I annual.
Are those numbers so outstanding that how many licensed professional counselors do you anticipate this grant will fund?
We would provide one at every feeder, and really, when we look at a high school counselor, I do have to say this, that the high school counselor has so many counseling activities that they need to provide for the students in order to make sure that they're on track, not only for graduation, but how the students will graduate, whether there'll be distinguished level of achievement, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been advocating that for a long time, because it seems like our counselors get bogged down with handling administrative work, that they're not really counseling, and they're not addressing the mental health of these students. So, okay, I can see that, and if these counselors are going to go supplement and deal directly with the mental health and not get bogged down with administrative duties, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Actually,
Can I just jump in there?
Yes.
To that point,
Sure.
I'm going to give a legislative update next Tuesday to the administrators, but one of the new laws that was passed by Senator Lucio, who has been after this law, says that only 80% of a counselor's time needs to be devoted to counseling duties, not administrative duties. So that's now a new state law that's effective this school year. Again, Senator Lucio has been after that law for a while, and he finally got it passed. So now there is law to that point about doing other administrative duties. It's more now, it's going to be restricted, and it's going to have to be kind of reviewed closely by the administration.
Yes.
And we have 4 counselors more or less. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea, but just also keep in mind that, there's academic counselors, and these are clinical licensed counselors. So with that comes a lot of responsibility and liability. So you need to make sure that they are covered through some form of insurance, not only the counselor themselves, because now they're taking on clinical responsibilities, clinical duties. It's like having a private practice. So the district also needs to be protected, Mr. Cruz, because it could be that you could have a lawsuit on your hands if a parent of a child feels that something went wrong in a clinical practice, because now we're doing clinical practice. We're taking on a profession that is probably not currently covered by the school district. So just keep that in mind.
Our insurance is our errors and omissions insurance through the Property Casualty Alliance of Texas does basically cover any employee of the school district. So these people are going to be employees of the school district, then that would come under coverage. A second thing, I think, to Ms. Less's point, yes, there is a clause in every employment contract, a term contract, a probationary contract that says basically the expiration of the grant funds will be cause for non-renewal, but that would be up to the administration to recommend to the board at that time that there's no funds, and maybe we can work on an addendum to make it even more specifically clear that basically this position is contingent upon grant funding.
Maybe Mr. Senator Lucio will fund his new law.
That's what I'm thinking.
And I do just want to
I
add.
have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I do have a couple of questions. You can put the slide back on. My point being, I was going to start with, I understand Mr. Cruz is aware of it, and I was aware of it also at the community and conference we attended, that 80% of the time that the counselor spends has to be done in counseling, in work that related to counseling. So it's removing them from administration and doing things that shouldn't have been done to begin with, in my opinion. So what I wanted to check was, I understand that there would be a LPC assigned to every campus?
No.
Repeater.
To every high school, yes, so there'd be 4 in total, 1 for every high school to cover within the feeder pattern, but we do anticipate that the greatest need will be at the high school. And I just wanted to say that I understand that the counseling duties, but as a high school counselor, those duties that take up the majority of their time are counselor duties at the high school, and it's meeting all of the needs for students to graduate.
But it's not going to the middle schools, which are the feeder schools of the high schools, am I correct?
They will not be stationed at the middle schools, they'll be stationed at the high schools. However, if there is a need, that middle school counselor will be able to contact the LPC, and then the LPC will be able to travel to the middle school to assist. We took
That
great.
doesn't seem to be enough. That, in my opinion, that doesn't seem to be enough people, counselors, to go and address any issue going on in the middle schools or the elementary schools, because sometimes this issue starts. Now, I guess what Mr. Lucio was doing as a legislator was realizing before and even now that this behavioral issues, emotional issues, they don't start at the high school level. They're already coming in at that level from elementary. And that's what I've been hearing even from staff that I've talked to at our school district. We need to find ways to put some counselors at the elementary, at the middle school, so that we can address and help those students that need it. And my other question was regarding I saw the family engagement. I wasn't too clear what it is. I see Family Resource Center. I wanted to know if that can be tied in together, where that resource is available to the families where they can get that same counseling. And at the end of the day, and I hope I'm not going too fast in my thinking here, but I mean, I think you do need some people in the school district that knows and engages and has a network with the outside resources that are already in the community. And so I would like to see that sharpen up. Maybe that's what you're doing already. And I'll be very honest, maybe that's what you're doing. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the understanding that I would like to see those LPCs, that family counseling, family resources doing that for the school district, because I think because of the pandemic, we don't know how students are feeling right now. We know how the family relationships have had loss of jobs, loss of income. They're going to be coming in with problems. People will have it. So anyway, I'll just rest my case, if you will, that I want to see some of that.
Let me just address quickly that when we wrote the job description for the LPCs, we focused strictly on counseling, small group and individual, but also on the LPCs serving as a resource for the other counselors so that they can in-house train, provide information to the campus counselors. Now, when we adopt the social and emotional learning program, that is an adoption at the elementary and at the middle school. And then we also have now, because of the state, is requiring character trait education. That means that every single teacher must be aware of these Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. So within that social and emotional program, we're also looking at a program to be able to train all of our teachers to understand the character traits. And when we talk about character traits, it's also about, how to give examples, how to be kind, how to deal with a severe emotional situation. Just general at every teacher, then it would be a little bit tier 1, I guess, if we want to look at that, would be every teacher. The tier 2 would be with the counselors, and then tier 3 would be with our LPCs together working with our campus counselors. So we do have a plan. I know Ms. Melissa Ramirez has been working with all of the outside agencies that we have in Laredo. They are limited, but we have been working to put all of those resources at the tips of the counselors, and then also the counselors are providing that information on their websites so that parents can have access to that. And then I'll ask Ms. Morales to go a little bit in detail on the Family Resource Center.
Hi, good evening. Rebecca Morales, Executive Director, Federal Programs. So just to give you a little bit more information about what we're planning with our Family Resource Center, we are also proposing a care team, what we're calling a care team, which will consist of social workers. Currently, that is a need in our school district. And so we would call it our care team because we're looking at coordinating and aligning resources to empower and engage students. And so what these individuals will do in essence would help us with all of these non-academic barriers that our students have and everything that they faced over this past year. So they would be highly, highly involved with our Family Resource Center. And like Ms. Lessa mentioned, our Family Resource Center would be kind of like a one-stop shop for our families to provide them training, to provide ESL classes, job, workforce training, just things that parents have told us in their surveys. Like Ms. Lessa mentioned, we do an annual survey for all our parents. This year we got over 10,000 responses. So our parents are providing us the feedback, and we want them to know that we're listening to what their needs are and what their concerns are. And at the end of the day, we want to help them be better prepared to help their students be successful. So we are planning very carefully. We've been in communication with the management team, with curriculum, and we want to see this to fruition. So we do have plans to, Mr. Castillo, just so that you know, we do have plans to have social workers/counselors available to help our parents with these needs and our families with these needs.
Do we have enough staff for family engagement? I mean, are we going to increase the staff? Are we going to be more able to reach out to more students, more families?
Yes, well, currently that is actually something because of Senate Bill 179 that our district is looking into as well. Currently, all of our counselors serve as the parent liaisons on our campus, and I know that now that's going to tie our hands a little bit as well. We're looking at funding this through ESSER, but also finding a long-term plan since Title I does require parent engagement for our school district, and we do see a need for more parent liaisons to assist us with all of the responsibilities that our campuses in our district have. So yes, Mr. Castillo, to answer your question, the plan is to increase our staff in this area to support our families.
Yes, and good point, Mr. Castillo, and I love all this attention on mental health. That is my profession. But I believe the district only has two. I'm also a licensed social worker as well, but I believe that the school district only has 2 social workers. Am I correct? And what about the licensed professionals in school psychology? So you have all of these professionals, but they all seem to be operating in different compartments, and I think we need to mesh them.
Well,
so I think we only have 2.
And I was going to say, I agree with you, and we need more social workers. I think maybe that might be the time.
Yeah, there's
all of our efforts together.
Yes, because there's a big difference. Social work is different from clinical psychology, which is what the LPC is doing. I'm not real sure what the licensed professionals in school psychology do, but I know we have maybe 4 or 5 of them as well.
Just to let you know, and again, it's a lot of the things are tied to funding. So when we look at the licensed school psychologists, the LSSPs, they are under special ed, and they are for evaluation purposes and counseling, but it is for special ed students. So it's a funding criteria that we must meet, and the social workers that we have are also under special education. So what we're doing here with the LPCs is we're opening that up for all of our students, our general ed population that we know are going to come in after experiencing their parents' loss of work or their illness or even loss of life. Those are the 3 highest factors in stress and depression and anxiety. And so that's why we want to make sure that we're ready with an SEL curriculum, with a character traits curriculum for every teacher, SEL curriculum for counselors, LPCs as additional support, and then we will continue with our LSSPs through our special ed program.
Ms. Lizanda, if you may add, also, I think they also work with the council, work together in conjunction to address the needs of the students regardless of the program they're in.
Yes, because our LSSPs also help us and design the the suicide manual, the SOS program. There's just different programs, and we are working together, but when we look at addressing students, it is depending on the identification of the students and the different program that they're hired under.
But the district only has 2 social workers, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's unacceptable. That's not acceptable. I think we need more social workers.
Yes, Ms. Oliveros, and
I
actually,
agree with you.
yes, we have seen that is a need, especially after what our students and our families have experienced over the past year and a half. So again, our proposal right now at the time is to hire 4 caseworkers, 1 for each of the feeder areas, 1 for each feeder high school that would service the high school, the middle schools, and the elementary schools in that area. And again, we're looking at calling it the care team to again coordinate, align, and align the resources to engage and empower our students and our families, especially coming back.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't want to take
And I did want to point out to the presenters, our questions, my questions, I really like what you're doing, engaging the staff and the principals. I'm very happy that you're doing all this. Yes, I probably would have done more for the family center and for LTCs and all that, but, I hope that you will continue working toward that.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
next year, Mr. Castillo.
Thank
Next
you.
year.
Okay, next year.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All righty. Agenda item 7. At this time, we move on to the consent agenda items. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda items as listed? I believe it is A through L.
A through L, I make a motion to approve as presented in the Business and Instruction Committees last week.
Second?
Second.
Okay, is everyone again? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Castillo.
Okay, anyone against? Okay, if not, motion carries. Agenda item 8, items for individual consideration. Item 8A, approval of donations. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, at this time, members of the board, the following are donations of $1,000 or more. A donation of hand sanitizer was received by the Fixed Asset Department from Condor Corporation LTD with a value of $20,000. So the grand total of donation for this month is $20,000. We ask that you approve this donation.
Make a motion to
Is that
approve.
it?
Second?
Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone against? Motion passes. Agenda item 8B, approval of first and final reading of board policy DEC local compensation and benefit leaves and absences.
Good evening, members of the board. Once again, we have revised this policy as per TASB recommendations, as discussed at length at last week's instructional meeting. Many of the deletions that were noted here are going to be placed in an administrative regulation. And when you look on page 233 at the top, it is the recommendation of TASB that the superintendent shall develop administrative regulations, guidelines, and handbooks addressing employee leaves and absences to implement the provisions of this policy. Given the type of year that we had last year, they're giving the superintendent more authority for leaves and absences, and this is why it is easier to amend a regulation than a policy.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rendon.
Thank you.
Is there a motion regarding
I
the?
make a motion that we pass.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone against? Okay, no one against, motion passes. Agenda item 8C, discussion and possible action regarding first and final reading of UISD board policy, DC local.
This policy is basically your employment policy, and what we've done is basically define the superintendent's authority to transfer and reassign individuals. That's his authority under the education code, and we kind of borrowed from what El Paso ISD has, that the superintendent has the authority to transfer or reassign to a lateral position for a current existing position or a newly budgeted position. So this is, the recommendation is for first and final reading approval.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
Anyone against? Motion passes. Agenda item 9, closed session. The time is now 6:58 PM, and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.076 of the Texas Government Code to discuss agenda items 9A through 9D.
The time is now 8:20 PM, and the board will take appropriate action on items, if necessary, as discussed in closed session.
Recommendation number 10A, the recommendation is to approve the settlement in regards to MP2 as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, motion to approve. There's a second by Mr. Molina. Is anyone opposed to this motion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
All right, motion is unanimous, motion passes. 10B,
The recommendation is to authorize district administration and legal counsel to proceed with respect to the acquisition of 10.77 acre tract of land out of 53.40 tract of land within the B. Deutsch. Record number 1089, pages 586-87, situated in Porcion 28, Edith Martinez, Abstract 2041, West County, Texas. As a result of the expansion of Route 20 by TxDOT, as discussed and presented in closed session.
So move.
is there
Second.
a motion and second to approve? All those in favor?
Aye.
Saying aye.
Aye Castillo.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries, unanimous. 10C,
Recommendation is to proceed to authorize legal counsel with the plan presented with respect to the easement requested by on Santa Monica or Santa Clara Lane to facilitate access to the easement to the center.
is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Yes. Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
Aye, Molina.
Motion passes. 10D, action regarding, go ahead.
Recommendation is to authorize legal counsel to proceed with the Aquero Boulevard Road extension as discussed in closed session.
Is there a motion to
So
approve?
move.
Second. Second.
Second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Molina.
Aye Castillo.
Motion passes unanimously. 10E, action regarding superintendent goals.
Recommendation is to approve the superintendent goals as presented by Gary Gonzalez.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
aye.
Molina.
Aye Ramirez.
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
It is unanimous, motion passes. 10F,
David.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, I did.
Action regarding the appointment of executive director for instructional accountability.
Mr. Board, this time I'm recommending Ms. Cristina Casanova as Sec Director for Instructional Accountability.
So move.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. 10G, action regarding the appointment of Director of Communications.
Yes, members of the board, Mr. Motomoy, at this time, my recommendation for appointment Director of Communications is Maria Amparo Lanese.
So move.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye Castillo.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item 11, adjournment. Is there any opposition?
No, so move.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second.
All right.
All right,
Good
everybody have a
evening.
good evening.